Mould is probably one of these words that you hear and your kind of shoulders drop, and it's another one of these type of jobs that's coming in that's going to be a problem. So, Tick Mould Control, we've been working on a system for the past 4 years, and we're now bringing it to the market, and we offer a system where we can make a room safe within 1 hour of using our unit here. This is the Titan Mini.
For those of you that can't see it, there we go.
So everybody knows the challenges with mould and how it's been treated by the government, how they categorise it. And when it comes to the end of the day, it comes to a problem that you need to solve, you want to solve quickly. With our system, it allows us to step in the same day. What we do is we train your own staff to use this unit, and it can very quickly be set up. We've got our own app, which forms part of the measuring side. And from there, your college would use the app to size up the room. From there, it'll give you a run time. The unit is going to run for that allotted run time, so probably an average room size, you're maybe talking about 6 minutes. The unit will run for the 6 minutes, and then after that, there's a 45-minute period before you go back in the room. So we just need to remove humans and pets from the room, and from there, you let the machine do the work. One of the guys mentioned earlier on about Awaab's Law, and again that's changing from October, and it's going to create more pressure to deal with the hazards within 24 hours. This is the only system on the market that will go into a room and it's going to remove the hazards, not only the hazards that you see, so the mould that you see on the wall is roughly about 5% of the colony count, but you also have mould that you're not going to see, whether that's within the fabrics or the carpets, if that's maybe behind furniture, behind bedding. At this point, we can treat the room, surface and the air, within that hour. So how it works, your own staff are going to use this unit, so it's not something where you're going to we work on a call off. We sat at the very start and we looked at what is the challenges for a call coming through. So when a call comes to your desk, you want to react to it quickly. You want to be able to send out your own team. So whether that be a surveyor, whether that might be someone like a painter, a decorator, or a gas engineer that's maybe on call, this system allows them to deploy very quickly. Each treatment that we do, it creates a treatment certificate, so it gives you a paper trail that's going to work all the way through. So from the point of your job being raised, it's something that you can react to very quickly. The unit itself has been tested, so as I say, we've been working on this for the past 4 years, and we were very lucky to work with Wheatley Group in Glasgow, where we carried out an 18-month pilot and running through the properties. We also formed that as part of our patent application, so it's only been at the very end of last year that we got our patent lodged, and then we're allowed now to come to market and tweak it. So the unit, it emits a dry spray throughout the room, so all you have to do is you need to remove the people and any pets from the room. Everything else is safe. If it's their TVs or their computers, even if it's medical equipment, it's only the humans and pets you need to move from the room. From there, you use the app to size up the room. So one of the things that we thought about was someone's going to come and challenge this, how it's been carried out. So whether that's been at the point of who uses the unit, so we train your own staff, so your staff get trained and signed off to use it. The unit itself has been tested and verified by Bureau Veritas. So Bureau Veritas now work with us on the maintenance side. So every 6 months, the unit is swapped out with a replacement unit that's been tested and calibrated, and that ensures we're getting that consistent approach. The sizing is done through the app, so someone doesn't need to come to site and they don't need to try and work out what a runtime should be. They put their sizes into the app, and from there the app will tell them what the runtime is going to be. So again, we're just looking at this point where if someone's going to come and challenge what's been done, like, okay, the job came through on that day, it was attended to that day, so who carried out the works? Well, it was Stephen here, and Stephen's been trained how to use a unit. okay, the piece of equipment, yep, we can give you the records of that so we know that it's within date. The solution that we use, we store that on your site and we manage that as well. So at that point we record batch numbers and dates. Again, that creates this kind of watertight case. So at the point of someone coming to challenge you, to say, what have you done to treat this? This is the system that you've followed. So because we follow each of those steps, each job is going to get a treatment certificate. But we've given an example of a timeline on how quickly from a call coming in to your help desk that an operative can attend, and within a few hours they can make that room safe. It's not going to solve the problem of where the mould is coming from. So if you've got a disrepair, you've something maybe like you've got a water leak, or if it's a fabric issue, you still have to, it would address that, but what it's going to do is going to stop the clock, because you can certify that the room has been made safe. And that's tested not only on the surface mould, but the mould that is in the air. Probably more importantly in there, the biggest risk that comes is from the spores that are generated. And when you look at traditional methods for dealing with mould, people use sprays. When mould's disturbed, it spores aggressively. That's why it survives. That's why mould is such a big problem. So it spores aggressively. That's where it survives. It starts to get in the air. It starts to grow. It loves a humid environment. So when you look at someone's property, a lot of things have changed over the past 3 years. A lot of people now work from home. Kids don't seem to go outside and play anymore. They want to sit and they want to game. Our eyes have been opened by doing a lot of work with Wheatley, where you go into a kid's bedroom and it's set up and the guy's flying a plane. He's on some simulator, but it's the heat that's generated, it's the time that's spent with his room, it's the amount of people then that come into the room. So these are the factors that are starting to change, and a lot of the time, the guys were given the example of like an Amazon or an Uber. People's lifestyles have now changed, and as they're dealing with people, so it becomes a point where it's not something that you can switch off. And I know there's a lot of technology on measuring the temperature and the humidity within the room and how to try and pick that up and to try and address it. But I think at that, the challenge is people, and dealing with people, they do their own thing. And you can talk to someone, you can educate them as much as you can, and they'll still go on and they'll do their own thing. So it's about how our system is of making that safe on the very first visit. When you plug in the unit, it's going to record the temperature, the humidity and the organic matter count. And at that point, we sat and looked at it and we thought, when you go to someone's house and you go into the house, sometimes you might be dealing with an old lady and she's really cold, but you go in and the temperature's 20 degrees and the humidity's really high. So at that point, we're recording, it becomes a factual, becomes part of the fact of what's going on in that property. So then it's a bit more easy to educate someone to say, look, your house is very warm. Well, I don't think it is. Well, here's your recording here, and if you reduce that down, these are the steps that really start to reduce these problems. So that information then gets recorded on our treatment certificate. So from there, you're going to have the property name, you're going to have who's carried out the treatment, the time and the date. It'll also record the temperature, humidity. We've actually only recently added the organic matter, so the certificate's been recently updated to include the organic matter. And that gives us the details at the bottom. I don't know if you can see at the bottom. And gives us the UCAS details of where the tests we carried out. So that's what allows us to certify each job. In certain properties, it's going to be possible to do more than one room. So your challenge could be that you go on your property and you have to do maybe a bedroom and a kitchen and a bathroom. You want to get in there, and what you want to do is you want to do it as quickly as possible. Get your tenant so your tenant can feel comfortable. So there is circumstances that we can, the room, if they're adjacent, if they're quite close in proximity, we can run the unit, but we look at then doing control measures to create a zone. So ideally, even if your tenant can leave the property for say an hour, it means you can do more than one room at one time. If you can get a complete decant, you can maybe split the house into 2 or 3 parts, depending on the size. But this allows you to go, and you'll be able to remove the hazard within that 24-hour period. So the key benefits are is touchless touchless automated system. So going back to the traditional methods for treating mould, if you look at mould or Andre spores, the process that we are doing is such a fine dry spray that it's attacking the mould before it even gets a chance to spore. So the way it works is it burns through the initial cell wall, which alters the DNA, so it can't spore, it can't replicate, and then from on there, it's demise of the cell. It gives you a paper trail of your job, so you can demonstrate that you've turned up, obviously within your time. I think every job you'd love to go and meet it within your KPI and do a first time fix or to make safe. This could be a first time fix if it's something that's very simple, going to allow you to stop the clock. I don't know whether your jobs will move on from being a reactive job to then moving on to being like a small works or a project. So at this point, this allows you to stop the clock. So we get our traceability through the certificates. So every job that's done will generate your treatment certificate, and that treatment certificate will go back to a designated email, and that will tie in with your job number. So it's tested and approved. That carries on through your certificate. And what it does is it creates a safer environment for your tenants, for your employers and your employees as well, who are going to turn up. So if you think about the guys that are on the ground, they go to these houses every day, and they're going to these environments, it's starting to create a safer environment for the guys that are on the ground, the guys that are going and doing the work, they're involved in these jobs every day. And it's going to start to protect your stock, because then you can really start to tackle the problem with recurring mould jobs, the jobs that don't seem to go away and seem to come back. And probably more importantly, it's going to comply with your employers and your landlord's requirements under your duty of care. Now you can tick the box to say, this is what we're doing, this is a system, and we use it, and it's something that's been tested. So it's not just a finger in the air approach, it's we go in, we use that system, we made the room safe. So it's something that, as tenants as well, tenants are always looking for to see how they're getting looked after and how quickly things can be responded to. So this is our steps. I mentioned about the time that we worked with Wheatley, so that was over an 18-month period. And from there, that was a variety of property types and a variety of jobs that had been reoccurring. And there was a lot of disrepair cases as well. So there was a few disrepair cases where the evidence that was used from using this machine got the case thrown out because of the approach. We also got Homes for Good as well, Poor in Scotland. And they're a smaller association, but again, they've adopted the system. Wheatley now uses the system. So their own guys are on the ground. The jobs come through, and this is a first step. And we completed a pilot with the Northern Ireland Housing Executive. And again, that was on a variety of problems. It seemed to have properties, it was a reoccurring problem, but I think that was really just going down to the steps of every job's got a time constraint. You know, when someone turns up at a job, they're under pressure to make sure that the person's in, that they can get access and get freely access and do what they need to do. And those are challenges that are never going to go away. And we've had our eyes opened by spending so much time with people on the amount of times you turn up at property and you can't get access, or there's maybe something going on that you can't spend as much time. So this is from the very start why we sat and we thought about how do we, with the knowledge we've had, so we've got over 40 years experience in decontamination, and it was how could we go in, how could we get that type of process that was happening in a commercial environment. A lot of it was down to do fuel tanks and working offshore, but there was always a time constraint about how quickly we got things back up and running. We do things safely, and then we can get the job done, and we know if it's done properly. We need to validate it, and that's why we've come up with this system. So it's a very, very simple use. Steve showed you there, it's very light. I think it's just under 23 kilos. You've got your handles on the side, but what it'll do is it'll pop up like a suitcase. You can freely go about. Each unit comes with a kit bag. Within the kit bag, you've got a measuring device, and that's calibrated and serviced as part as the 6 monthly regime, so that you know that every time you're measuring a job, it's going to be measured properly. And the same with the unit with the service side. One of the things that we're looking at just now is we're working with a company called Flowio to add in a dashboard side for the certificates, so that I can tie in. Because I know when a job comes in, ideally you're one that service line to drop back into the job without you having to do any sort of kind of manual now lift through. So we are working with Flowio on that. The solution we use is halal, kosher, vegan. It's bleach free, it's chlorine free, it's environmental friendly, 100% environmental friendly. So these are the things that are important and allow you to go in, and it stops any sort of barriers that limits you where your job's going to be. So any property you have, you can use this in the property, whether it be a tower block or a row of terrace houses or a semi, even larger areas. This is the solution I've got. Do you want to add it, Jerry?
Just so just to add to what Kevin's is saying, really. So, my background is social housing. I worked in social housing since 2006 to 2017 in some senior positions, delivering service redesigns and business transformation projects. I've never seen anything like this in the sector, to be honest. The treatment of damp and mould. What I think is really great about it is not only does it tick the box in terms of regulatory compliance and showing the regulator that you're taking proactive steps towards the treatment of damp and mould, it also protects your organisation around potential litigation claims from employees in the future. I see damp and mould as the next asbestos. So we've got lawyers already ringing residents saying, you know, put a claim in, you've got damp and mould. That's coming for employees. So I think within the next few years, we're going to start to see that. So we can take proactive steps not only to protect our residents, but protect our employees and tick the compliance box as well. That's a fantastic thing. And I think the regulator is we all know that they're really heavy on data and looking at the data to back up the actions that housing providers are taking. So if we not create that audit trail and that paper trail and automate that through a system as well and prove that we're actually treating properties and we've got the full kind of compliance trail around that, then that's the icing on the cake as well. So that's what TIP brings. It's got many facets to it, not just kind of, you know, treating damp and mould. It's all the regulatory compliance side of it as well and protecting the organisation and its employees.